The new Kimi K2 Thinking just dropped. It only matters if it ships. Testing with Claude Code versus Factory Droid on a real task. Hello, I'm Jeremy Grove, founder of Data Fusion. In this video, I will be comparing the new Kimi K2 Thinking in Claude Code versus Factory Droid using one controlled task with strict acceptance criteria. Let's see the results. Kimi K2 Thinking has just released, and they're making some significant claims on tool calls and benchmark. And as we've gone over before, that a lot of these benchmarks are not going to apply to everyone because a lot of these providers train specifically for these benchmarks, but the benchmarks do mean something, of course. But we can also do some of our own testing to see how it's going to line up with our own specific dev work. So you'll see here, they're claiming that they can execute 200 to 300 sequential tool calls. I would like to see it hit that. I have not experienced that yet. I have been testing it since it released a few days ago. I'm getting some significant outputs on the general benchmarks. They're definitely even claiming that they're setting records across benchmarks. And you'll see here on the Agentic reasoning that, yeah, they're definitely scoring high. Agentic search, they're at the top of these charts, and they're claiming that they're setting a lot of records. But let's put them to the real test. For coding, they are just under Sonnet 4.5. But on the SWE bench, they're below Sonnet and GPT-5. But on the live code bench, they're just below GPT-5. So Kimi K2 Thinking, which is a deep reasoning model, and it's coming in at a very affordable price. As you can see, the pricing compared to Sonnet is a significant difference. But then you have the Kimi K2 Thinking Turbo, which is a little bit higher, but it's still coming in well under Sonnet. And I have tested the two, and Kimi K2 Thinking Turbo is significantly faster, and I think the output may be a little bit better. Still to be determined. And you can see where it's stacking up with GPT-5, GPT-5 Codex, DeepSeek, DeepSeek Reasoner, Quen, GLM, one of my favorites, and one of my new favorites, MiniMax M2, which is performing very well, and Gemini 2.5 Pro, which we're hopefully Gemini 3 Pro will be dropping here soon. Maybe by the time this video is posted, it'll already be out. So today we're going to be testing these inside of Claude Code and Factory Droid. On my website, MiniDataFusion.com, under Resources Guides, you can get a free Claude Code multi-provider setup and switcher guide. And also you can pick up a Factory Droid complete master guide. Both of these guides will guide you through how you can set up multiple providers inside of Claude Code and Factory Droid. The one difference between Claude Code, they have to have an Anthropic backend. As to where Factory Droid, basically you can bring any key. So those are available at my website, MiniDataFusion.com, under Resources Guides. I also have another guide that you can pick up on my website, absolutely free, and along with some others. But as far as Claude Code, a Claude Code Context and Management Guide. That is a new one that I've just recently added. This is my Claude Code Context Management Guide that I recently added to my website, MiniDataFusion.com, under Resources Guides. This will help you get set up with various subagents and have an orchestrator and manage your context more efficiently. And the Claude Code Multi-Provider Setup and Switcher Guide, which I have updated with the Kimi K2 Thinking models as well. And the Factory AI Droid Complete Master Guide, which I have just recently updated and added a lot of other models on there. And I will continue to update this when I have time. But I've added, of course, Kimi K2 Thinking, MiniMax. Yeah, pretty much everything is on there. I will probably, the next models that I will probably start to add will be Open Router, because we're going to start doing some things with working with local models as well soon. So now it's time for us to test Kimi K2 Thinking inside of Claude Code and Factory Droid. So first of all, we're testing the Kimi K2 Thinking model, but we want to see the difference in the performance, if there is one, inside of Factory Droid and Claude Code. So for this test, we're going to be building a cognitive map generator. And this is going to be with very, very strict criterion. That way we can grade the model on its output, because we're going to create a cognitive map generator. We're going to force the layout that renders a central logic with connected subnodes. It's going to need to be smooth, drag interaction, zoom, pan, double click, recenter, and persistence. So we will grade it on that. We will also grade it on the speed. So we've got strict criterion. There can only be 4 files, and that's all in the prompt. So if the models do not adhere to that, then that's not what we're looking for. So you can see that we're inside of Claude Code. We've got Kimi K2 Thinking, and we've got the latest version of Claude Code. Normally I would put it in plan mode, but for the sake of this test, we're going straight to auto edit. And we have the thinking on. So let's put our prompt in, and let's start our timer at the same time, and let's see where we go. I believe this prompt is going to take a little bit of time, so I'm sure I'll be cutting away and coming back into this. All right, 4 minutes, 59 seconds, just under 5 minutes. It says it's created the cognitive map generator that runs entirely offline. And they've got our 4 files, the index.html, the style CSS, and the script.js, and the data.js. Okay, let's hop on over to that file and see if it runs. So it loaded one shot, no problem. Very, very bland page. Didn't do the greatest job, but let's see if it will run it. Generate map. Nothing. Okay, so we are going to give it 2 chances to rectify this. So let's go give it its first shot. So I've gave it a prompt to fix the issue, and we will hit the timer again. So this is prompt number 2 inside of Claude Code, Kimi K2 Thinking. It did render the page, but the application is not working at all. Okay, looks like it just finished. So we're up to 13 minutes. Okay, that's a combined score. It's claiming that it initializes correctly, and it's claiming that when we hit generate map, it will render the cognitive map immediately. Well, let's see if that's true. Let's go on over to the browser. So we're back on the page. Let's hit generate map. And we are 0 for 2. Kimi K2 Thinking inside of Claude Code. We're a little over 13 minutes. Second prompt, nothing. So we've got our final attempt prompt. And I'm giving it a loaded prompt. I'm giving it a very detailed prompt with do's and don'ts. Really giving it the best chance to be able to resolve this. Let's give it a go. And we'll start the timer as well. And if you want to install Claude Code or Factory AI Droid to where you can have multiple providers, I have a free guide on my website, metadatafusion.com, under Resources Guides. I have a complete Claude Code multi-provider setup and switcher guide and a Factory AI Droid master guide. As well as I've recently updated a Claude Code context management guide, which shows you how to set up sub-agents with an orchestrator, a very detailed guide with all the prompts to help you get that set up. Just go over to metadatafusion.com under Resources Guides, and you can pick that up absolutely free. 21 minutes. That's the final time for Kimi K2 Thinking inside of Claude Code with 3 prompts. Whether it works or not, that is the final time. Here's the claim. It's claimed it's fixed the DOM loading. Guarantees DOM is parsed. Okay. So let's see if this, because it said it guaranteed it last time. So that's some pretty strong claims, and we're going to find out soon. All right, we're back here on the web page. Let's give the agent its final shot. Over 21 minutes. Let's see if we could do it, get anything out of this thing. Same prompt, AI strategy, generate map, nothing. 0 for 3. Kimi K2 Thinking inside of Claude Code, 21 minutes, nothing. All right, let's see what Factory AI Droid will do with Kimi K2 Thinking, and we'll go from there. So now we are on Factory AI Droid, and we're going to give it the exact same prompt. You can see we have Kimi K2 Thinking, and we're going to do the exact same thing on high, no plan mode, and we're going to let it rip. The exact same prompt. Get ready to start the timer, and go. So this is Factory AI Droid. This is definitely one of my daily drivers, along with Claude Code, along with Cursor, Kilo Code, and other tools as well. I'm always using the new tools as they come out, as the field evolves. But I really like Factory AI Droid. I hope they continue to support this tool because I think they have their agents optimized. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out if Kimi K2 Thinking is going to perform differently with their agents as opposed to Claude Code. Claude Code, we gave it 3 prompts and it struck out. It gave us a very generic page, and it did nothing. So let's see what Factory AI Droid is going to do. And you can get a free guide for Factory AI Droid, a master guide on how to set up the different models inside of here, along with Claude Code, multi-provider setup and switcher guide on my website, metadatafusion.com, under resources, guides. And I've also added a Claude Code context management guide. You can pick that up absolutely free. So it's looking like Kimi K2 Thinking is going to be a planned agent. Now, I still haven't seen the output from Factory AI Droid, but I think it's going to work well for planning. So say inside of Factory AI Droid, I could do my plan right with this, and then I could switch directly over to another agent. Same in Claude Code. I could plan with Kimi K2 Thinking, and then I could go to a different model to execute. So say maybe I want a GLM 4.6, or I want to execute with MiniMax, or even Gemini. But I will be doing more testing. I know some of the community has requested some of these head-to-head tests, so we're going to be doing some more testing. I'm in the process of finishing off my benchmark suite to where we can do some more testing and benchmarks, and I might upload some of those benchmarks to my website, especially if some users comment that they would like to have maybe weekly results of the different models with various metrics and charts, etc. Because I'll be doing some different benchmarks than are already available. So I like to do some type of testing that's a little bit more on my workflow. Oh, there, we're first done. Okay, so that's the first prompt for Factory AI Droid, 4 minutes and 56 seconds. So it says it's delivered all the files, full viewport, complete physics engine, idea bank. It says it's ready to go. Well, let's give it a test and see if Factory AI Droid with Kimi K2 Thinking can do it in one shot, because Claude Code was 0 for 3. Okay, interesting. It looks exactly the same as the one that Claude Code did, and I mean exactly, except it did pre-fill this. Well, let's see. Generate map. The exact same result as Claude Code. So, prompt number 2 for Factory AI Droid, Kimi K2 Thinking. Let's start the timer. Go. It seems that these two agents are having little difference on this task, because that web page looked identical. I was actually surprised to see it look that much the same. So at least it is following the instructions. It just looks like it's having an issue with this type of a task. So it will be interesting to see if the agents in Factory AI Droid can potentially get better results. It does seem like the Kimi K2 Thinking agent is having trouble coding. I do feel like this agent is going to be a good planning agent, and possibly I should have put together a planning test, but I think it's going to be a good planner. But I think coding is not where you're going to want to have this thing as your workhorse. Obviously, you've seen the time for 3 prompts on Claude Code was at 21 minutes. That's quite a long time for a coding task, which I think GLM could have knocked that out faster. Same with MiniMax. Sonnet certainly could have. Codex is quite slow, so it may be about the same. But I think this is going to be a planning agent. So let's see. But yes, we'll be doing a lot more benchmarks. I'm in the process of finishing off the benchmark suite, which will have all types of metrics, things that we can test, and probably have a weekly score table, especially if some of the community comments that they would like to have potentially a weekly guide uploaded to my website, or possibly they can have it emailed. I could possibly put that together. Let me know in the comments. I am a fan of the way that Factory AI Droid executes a task and outputs a plan. Now on the other side, Claude Code, I really like the way that they've enhanced plan mode. They've recently enhanced plan mode to where it'll have options. So it will give you, it could have maybe 4 or 5 different tabs with more questions. It'll say, okay, do you want this option 1, 2, or 3? And if you don't want any of those 3 options, it'll want further clarification. And then you'll have another option. You can type that in, and then you'll hit next, and you'll go to the next one, etc. That is great. They need to add that to Factory AI Droid. I'm sure they are. But I will say the team over there at Anthropic, especially the Claude Code, they've kind of set the trends in this space as far as development goes. Okay, the agent is finished, 11 minutes, 31 seconds. All right, the agent is claiming that it's got it fixed. Let's go have a look. All right, we're back over here on the browser. It's got it pre-filled with AI strategy. Attempt number 2, Factory AI Droid, generate map. Nothing. 0 for 2. Not looking good for Kimi K2 at coding. 0 for 2. Both of them. All right, third and final prompt for Kimi K2 Thinking inside of Factory AI Droid. 0 for 2. Let's hit go. All right, so the last and final try for Factory AI Droid, Kimi K2 Thinking. It did finish sooner than the Claude Code at 16 minutes, 9 seconds. But if it failed, it doesn't really mean anything. All 4 files have been rewritten. Wow. So it wiped the slate clean and tried all the way over. That's not too positive. So at least it still followed the rules because we have to have those 4 files. All right. So we're here for the last and final try. Kimi K2 Thinking. Third and final try. Generate map. Nothing. Both of them performed exactly the same. Factory AI Droid, it did do it faster, but faster to fail. So they both were unable to complete this task. Now, this was not a simple task, so that is something to keep in mind. I wasn't going to do this, but I really think that this is going to be a good planning model. So let's put that to the test. Let's take the exact same prompt, put it in plan mode with Kimi K2 Thinking, and then we'll use GLM 4.6 to execute the task. Let's give that a shot. So let's see what type of planning skills that Kimi K2 has. We've got it on plan mode. We have the thinking on, and then we're going to execute it with GLM 4.6. Start our timer, and we'll see how long this comes. And yeah, you can obtain a free guide on how to set up a Claude Code multi-provider setup and switcher. You can obtain it on my website at MediaDataFusion.com under Resources Guides. You can also get another guide for Factory AI Droid, master guide on how to set up many different providers for that. I've actually just updated that guide as well, and it's also updated with the different, the new Kimi K2 models as well, and MiniMax, etc. I also have another guide on there for Claude Code context management. It explains to you how to set up multiple subagents and an orchestrator to manage your context. All right, it looks like the plan is done. 2 minutes and 13 seconds. And here's the plan that Kimi K2 Thinking has given. Looks like an okay plan. Would have liked to see a little bit more. But we're going to hit no, because we're going to switch over to GLM 4.6. So we're going to hit Control-C twice. I'm going to hit CCG, switch over to GLM, type in Claude. And we should be back over inside of Claude with GLM. Okay? So we are going to auto-accept the edits, and we'll put the thinking on. So we're just going to actually just copy and paste that plan directly in there. And see where it goes. So let's tell it to think hard. Execute the plan. All right. Let's see if we do any better than Kimi K2 by itself. This time we have GLM 4.6 executing the plan. GLM 4.6 has definitely been one of my favorite models as of late. I hope they continually update this. It's nice to have a lot of good models to work with. All right, it looks like GLM 4.6 is done already. So we're at 3 minutes, 31 seconds. I think we ran these two models significantly faster than we ran one prompt of Kimi K2 Thinking executing by itself. So let's see the feedback from GLM, because that was quite fast. Perfectly, I successfully created a cognitive map generator. Okay, let's see if it followed the instructions. Okay, there's the feedback from GLM 4.6. And if you remember, Kimi K2 Thinking failed 3 times, 0 for 3 inside of Claude code. It failed 3 times inside of Factory AI Droid. Now let's see if it failed or succeeded with the combination of GLM 4.6. Here we are. So already you can see a significant difference. If you remember, Kimi K2 Thinking, when it was doing the executions, basically just had this upper part, period. Nothing, never did anything. Even already, GLM 4.6 with the combination is already better. So let's see if these move. Oh, wow. Look at that. Kimi K2 with the plan, GLM as the executor. And so this is what I'm talking about, using the right tools. So I believe that Kimi K2 Thinking is going to be a planning agent. Okay? Going to be a planning agent. So this is exactly what it's supposed to do. Okay? So Kimi K2 Thinking so far is doing good plans, but not coding. Okay? Let's just hit the generate map to see if it does anything else. Okay. Let's put another prompt in there and see what it does. So let's try one more prompt and see what type of output that we're going to get out of the generate map. Okay. So this thing is doing what it's supposed to do. It's working. So I suspect that we could go back and forth with Kimi K2 Thinking and with GLM executing, and we could do quite a nice job. So let's try this inside of Factory AI Droid to see if we get similar output, the same, worse, better. Let's give it a shot. Okay, we are now on Factory Droid, the exact same test. We're going to use Kimi K2 Thinking for the plan, and then we're going to use GLM 4.6 to execute the command. Okay, so same prompt, plan, think hard, the same comprehensive prompt. Let's hit go. And it took 3 minutes and 31 seconds for Kimi K2 and GLM to complete their task, which they did successfully and did it well. But Kimi K2 Thinking by itself did not do well at all. 21 minutes, I believe, in Claude Code was like 16 minutes inside of Factory AI Droid, and they both failed. But absolutely executed it in one shot each with Kimi K2 Thinking and GLM. So this is just a prime example of how to use what model for what. Kimi K2 Thinking is looking like definitely a planning model at this point anyway. And you can get the Factory AI Droid Master Guide along with the Claude Code Multi-Provider Setup and Switch Guide on my website, MediaDataFusion.com, under Resources Guides. They'll be very helpful if you need to install this, and you can get all these different models inside of Factory AI Droid and inside of Claude Code. I use them both, along with Cursor and along with Kilo Code and every other tool. And I do believe that Gemini will be coming to the party. Let's say I do believe that Google has big plans. All right, so we're at the first stage. No, we're going to switch. So here's the plan inside of Factory AI Droid. Nice plan there. Okay. Okay, that's the type of plans that Kimi is outputting. Actually, very nice. And then I'm going to copy it all. So let's, as you can see, I got a whole bunch of models inside of here. I got MiniMax, I got DeepSeek, I got Gemini, I got GPT-5 Codex, all the GPT models. And now GPT-5 Codex is one that I use a lot for planning, but I think Kimi K2 could take its place. I'm going to have to do some head-to-head testing with the planning between the two. So that should be an interesting test, and maybe I'll do that one next week. So GLM 4.6. Okay, so yes, we're going to confirm that. So one of the things with Factory AI Droid, when you do switch to a different model, now if you switch within a different model within a given provider, it won't automatically compress. But if it's a different provider, it will compress that. All right, now we've got our plan in there. Same as we gave inside of Claude Code, execute plan with care, think card. And we got the plan that Kimi K2 Thinking is giving. Let's hit go, and we'll hit the resume on the timer. So inside of Claude Code, it executed it. One shot each from the teamwork, Kimi K2 Thinking plus GLM 4.6. It was success in one try. As to where Kimi K2 Thinking in both Claude Code and Factory AI Droid failed in 0 out of 3 attempts. So Kimi K2 Thinking is showing its strength so far clearly in planning. And even their own benchmarks somewhat reflect this. So let's stay tuned and see what happens. All right, that's it. 3 minutes, 57 seconds. So a little bit slower than the Team A with Claude Code and GLM 4.6, but pretty close. Let's see the feedback it's given. Well, let's see if it actually did indeed generate that. Let's go to the browser and check out what it did. All right, so not looking good for Factory AI Droid. But keep in mind that every call you make can go to a different server. You could be calling the same LLM many times in a row and you may not get the same output. Well, let's hit the generate map and see if we get any output. Maybe it's just starting with a blank screen. Let's see. No, nothing. Okay. So it did not get it in one shot. Let's give it one more chance to see if we can improve that. So we're going to give them, Factory AI Droid, one more shot. And keep in mind, for real testing, we would need to do more runs than this. And I will be doing some more benchmarking. I'm in the process of fine-tuning my benchmarking suite, which I'll be doing some videos, and I'll probably upload those guides to my website. Reply in the comments if you'd like to see some of those, maybe a weekly update guides on different types of testing. But let's give it a shot. I gave it a good prompt to see if it can fix this, and let's give it a go. Okay, it looks like it's finished. This is its feedback. And if it didn't get it, we're going to leave it at that. So let's see what we got here. It says it made the repairs. It added some logs that I didn't ask for. It says the page loads. And it says it's going to create the nodes, and it says the nodes were created. Okay, well, let's see if you're just saying that. Let's go check the browser. Let's see. I don't see anything here, so that's not a good sign. I don't see anything. So let's hit generate map. Failed. So seem to get a better shake inside of Claude Code, at least this time. But still more testing to be done. But one thing is for sure is that Kimi K2 Thinking is definitely a planning model. You would definitely not want to be executing with this model, but I think it's a really good planner. It could help a lot of people replacing the Codex models with the planning. Kimi K2 Thinking model is great for planning. However, I would recommend pairing it with a good coding model to execute those plans. As we have demonstrated here today inside of Claude Code and Factory AI Droid, it was unsuccessful on its own. But when paired with a good coding model such as GLM 4.6, there was success. You can obtain a free Claude Code multi-provider setup and switcher guide and a Factory AI Droid master guide at my website, MediaDataFusion.com, under Resources, Guides. That's it for me. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.